What army do I like playing against the most? I answer this and more in this month's Q&A. Nick speaking, and welcome to this video. Right, in today's video I'm going to answer all of the questions that you asked me on last month's Q&A video. I've got a lot of questions to answer, so thank you everyone for your questions. Before I answer them though, I've got a question for you. Now it's regarding Kill Team. I'd love to know what your thoughts are. Personally, I'm bored to death of Kill Team. Now I think it's because I'm a bit of a veteran player and I've got many quite large armies. I enjoy the bigger games of 40k. If I want to play a smaller game of 40k, I'll just play 500 points. I don't need to have Kill Team. However, I can see that Kill Team could be a great gateway into 40k if you're a new player, or potentially a gateway into an army that you wouldn't normally collect. So I'd love to know what you think of Kill Team. If you could let me know in the comments box below, and whilst you're commenting, how about asking me a question for next month's Q&A? Right, before we do our Q&A, if you would like to keep up to date with the wonders of Warhammer 40k, not miss an upload, then please subscribe and hit the bell button so you don't miss a video. Okay, so the first question is from NG Anthony, and he says, do you have any models that you spent time playing whilst painting, so much that painting is tough to finish? Mine is my Knight Scythe. Inner kid in me keeps zooming it around whilst painting. Okay, thank you for the question. No, I've never done that. I've never done that. Maybe I'm just too old to do that, but I've never zoomed my models around whilst painting. Thanks for the question though. Next one is from Ronin The Ronin, and he says, why are Catans portrayed as humanoid? They should be able to take literally any beast or form as they originate from being a cloud of star eating energy. Well, you are absolutely correct. The Catans obviously do take different forms when they appear. I think the reason why they're portrayed as humanoid is literally because it's probably easier to make the model and to integrate it into our visuals of beings. So I think that's probably the reason why. It would be pretty cool if they had Catans in different formats, but to be fair, I think the whole Catan range could do with a revamp. We need plastic, bigger Catan models and a revamp of the rules really, because although the Catan models are a lot better than they've been for a long time, I think compared to maybe other models that should be doing the same thing as our Catan models do, I think they are better. So I think I would like to see bigger Catan models with better, beefier rules. That would be pretty cool. Okay, so next is Capatan Morgan Wargames, and he's got a couple of questions for me. He says, another knight question. Do you think with the 2-point stratagem for Taranis house, that means you bring it back with D3 wounds, we will be seeing a lot more Imperial Guard Knight combos to be doing that continuously throughout the game? So yeah, I think we probably will. I think Knights in general is going to be seen quite a bit more now. It's obviously the in thing and they are pretty powerful. And it does seem that the Imperial Guard Knight combo is quite a nice complementary combo. So yes, I think you will see that quite a lot. He then says, at 2 command points, do you think that particular stratagem is too strong, especially given it can be used multiple times? I had to think about this question. Do I think it's too strong? I don't really know, because I don't play the army to know the ins and outs of a knight army. So I'm not sure if it's too strong for that particular army or not. It sounds very strong, it sounds very good. Is it too overpowered? I don't know. I will drink this coffee. So if you haven't watched one of my Q&As before, I tend to try to make these a little bit more relaxed than my usual videos, hence coffee. Okay, so his next question was, what is the worst unit you have faced in 8th edition and the worst unit you've ever faced? That is a great question. The worst units I've ever faced, I'm going to say Orc Knobs, combined with Thraka. Now this was back in 5th edition, and there's a big story behind it. I had just started playing Eldar. I was on a massive learning curve with the Eldar, and my buddy had his Orcs. This was back in 5th edition, where you could do wound allocation. That made those Orcs very, very difficult to kill. Allocating the wounds around the models. Thraka was there as well. He was giving some extra bonuses. I can't remember exactly what they were. I think it was on the charge. They had like a 2+ invulnerable save, or at least Thraka did. It was almost impossible to kill that unit. And you used to charge them up in a truck, along with another truck with mega knobs in, and you used to wreck face. I hated that unit. I hated Thraka. He's not so scary now, but back in the day, yeah, that was the units that I just really didn't like to face. Now in terms of 8th edition, that is harder because I haven't played quite as many different armies. So far I've had trouble with Magnus, although I had an army with no guns, and also I've had trouble with Tau Riptides, or the Riptide Wing. So I'm going to say the Tau Riptide. I've had bad experiences with that particular model over the years, and it hasn't changed in 8th edition. Okay, so he has one more question for me. Having used the Necron Codex now and building your own Necron tourney list, do you believe Necrons are now more competitive in this edition? Again, this is a great question, Richard. Thank you for this one. Okay, so I've been thinking about this question quite a lot. 8th edition Necrons, are they better? Are they more competitive than they've been previously? Well, in 7th edition we had the Decurion, and that gave us a 4+ army-wide RP roll. Pretty powerful, keeping the Necrons very survivable. However, in 7th edition there was a lot of cheese around. All of the armies had very powerful stuff, and it put the Necrons down the ladder of competitive armies. Now I do believe that the current 8th edition Codex is quite competitive. It has some great options, and not only that, lots of different ways to play Necrons and still have a chance of winning on the table. I would say in normal circumstances they are pretty competitive. However, I believe that we still have the same situation where other armies are just outright more competitive than we are. So although I do believe that the Necron Codex is one of the best ones that we've had, some great options in there, I don't believe that Necrons are a top tier army. And to be honest with you, I don't think they ever will be. I don't play Necrons because they are the most powerful army. I play Necrons because I love them. I think they've got good chances. I think they could do quite well. Are they a top tier codex? I think probably not. But I do believe that a good tournament player can pick the bones out of that Necron codex and make a good competitive list that has a chance of doing well. Okay, so the next question is from Albin P, and he says, what is your favourite Necron dynasty by lore? Oh, and what computer game from Warhammer universe do you like the most? Okay, so second question there, I don't play computer games, so I don't have an answer for that. The first question, what is my favourite dynasty by lore? Well, I am not into the lore, into the fluff at all. I still haven't read the new Necron lore. In my mind's eye, I prefer the original fluff. That's the fluff which I have read, and I do like. That's what my army is based upon. Now, of course, I am playing Novok Dynasty probably the most out of the dynasties. And that's just because the playstyle suits how I like to play my Necrons at this moment in time. Things will change. I am going to go a bit more shooty with my Necrons, but at the moment I'm really enjoying the Novok. In terms of the lore though, I have to be honest, I'm just not into the lore, so sorry about that. But yeah, lore questions and me, they just don't mix. Okay, so the next question is from Braden W. Hickman, and he says, if you could have any older model redone today in plastic, which model would it be? That is a good question. I am going to say Eldar Warp Spiders. That model is very old. The sculpt is quite static, and I think they could do some great things with that model. So I'm going to say the Eldar Warp Spider. However, any model that is in fine cast should be redone in plastic. So I want new plastic Necron HQs, please, GW. Okay, next question is from For the Tassar, and he says, have you ever thought about starting an army around Star Trek? Love this question, and I do have an answer for it. Yes is the answer. I have thought about it. Now, in actual fact, many years ago I was going to get into Necromunda. I had a couple of buddies that played it. One of those buddies had a gang that he was going to give me. Now, I can't remember the name of the gang, but I do remember that the models, or at least one of the models, had a beard, and I thought it would be pretty cool to paint him up as Commander Riker. However, that didn't happen. My group of friends sort of split up, and later on I did meet up with that guy who had the models, and he'd lost them somewhere in a house move, so I never got to have them. Now, in normal 40k I do have an idea for a Star Trek themed army, but not necessarily the Federation. So I'm thinking that the servitor models really look like Borgs, so I was thinking of having a Borg themed army. So yeah, just an army basically of servitors. That's going to be quite difficult to do, it's going to be quite expensive to do, but I think it would be really cool. I think that army is more of a pipe dream than an army which will come true, but you never know the future. Okay, so that is the Star Trek army that I would do. Right, next question is from Jonathan Wrigley, and he says, I have a question. Is there one model that you've always wanted but have never got? And by model I mean miniatures, not like Cindy Crawford or something. A great question. Is there a model that I've always wanted? There are models that I still need for my armies. There's a few Tyranid models. I need the Toxicrene. I want to get a couple of those. Models that I really want that I've never had. Not many, to be fair. I've got a good selection of models for most of my armies, which is why I don't tend to buy that many models these days. Yeah, I think that's the answer really. No, a couple of Toxicrenes maybe for my Tyranids. Of course there's always models that we need, especially now as I'm getting my Tyranids out, I'm getting my Eldar out on the table for 8th edition. I may find there are more models that I need. Of course I do need some more Necron destroyers because I've only got 9 at the moment and I really want 12, so I want to get another box of Necron destroyers. But yeah, I'm not too fussed about models that I really desperately need. Okay, so great question, thank you. The next question is from M. Cowell, and he says, why do people in South Central refer to the flavour desired as Red Kool-Aid? I don't know. South Central, that's America, right? I don't know actually. To be honest with you, I'm sure I could probably Google it and find out, but I have no idea why they call it Red Kool-Aid. Thanks for the question anyway. Next question is from William Cubby, and he says, do you play Dawn of War, and if Games Workshop put out kits of the base buildings, would you get them? I don't play Dawn of War, I've never played it or seen it in action. However, if they made Necron terrain kits, yes, I would definitely buy them. You can never have enough Necron terrain, so I definitely would buy some more. Okay, so next question is from Wizard Wargaming, and he says, what army do you like playing against the most? This is another great question. I've got some really good questions here, thank you everyone. So the army I like to play the most, even though I said what I said earlier, is Orcs. Orcs are just so much fun. Now the reason why I think playing Orcs is a fun army to play against is because, well, A, you get to kill stuff. There's lots of models on the table for you to kill, and that is always fun. B, they're not Space Marines. having a save which isn't very good. A 4+ save I think is the best they can do. Usually it's a 5 or a 6+ save. That's just fun to play against. And then, of course, the fun factor. You know, they are just very random. And I think it's a little bit like when I play tyranids. I pop them down on the table, I charge them forward, I have fun regardless. And that's what I think orc players experience. I think they put their army down, they charge forward, and regardless of the results, they always have fun on the table, or at least it seems like it. So I'm going to say orcs is my favourite army to play against. Okay, so the next question is from Max Padmanathan, and he says, do you have any other jobs, and if so, what are they? Okay, so well, YouTube for me isn't my job, it's just a hobby. I do work full-time though, and I work as a retail manager. So yeah, I manage a shop basically. I've been working for the same company since I left school in 1988. When I say then, the company had a change of hands in 1990, so I did 2 years with one company, and then we were taken over by a different company, but the shop sort of stayed the same. I've been manager since 2005, so yeah, same job for the whole of my life. How about that? I do really enjoy it. Okay, so next question is from Blue Dio Monica. And they say, what is your favourite Black Library short story, book, audiobook, and or audio drama? Well, apart from the Fulgrim book, which I started reading and failed miserably, I don't really do a Black Library, to be fair. So yeah, the Fulgrim book seemed quite good, but I just don't get time to read. That's the ultimate thing. And to be honest with you, I don't really have that much interest in it. So yeah, none of the above, I suppose, is the answer to that. Right, next question is from Underdog Painting, and this is a long one. So he says, I'm a parent counsellor at my daughter's school, and tackling bullying is very important to me, as well as other parents in the group. We find ourselves dealing with it at least once a week, and having to write to parents, etc. I was wondering what you would say to someone who is being bullied in this community, as it does happen a lot, and I've seen it in a Games Workshop store, where I've had to step in and it was a staff member. I know there is a big problem with keyboard ninjas on YouTube. As you know, I have been a victim of it. So what would your advice be to a person dealing with bullying on YouTube, or someone just starting out on YouTube, and what to avoid? Okay, thank you, Bazza. Yes, that is an interesting question. Now, I have to be honest, I've never really been bullied. Had my moments at school, like everyone, but not real proper bullying. And I've never really been around someone who's been bullied to any great extent. So my experience is actually quite limited. I'm going to pull on my YouTube experience because you sort of mentioned that at the end. Obviously we do have trolls, you know, we all get them on our videos, and it's part and parcel of being a YouTube creator. Now, in my personal experience, there's two ways to deal with the troll comment. Now, one is just to delete the comment and ignore it, and if it has very offensive stuff in there, definitely do that. I mean, delete it and ignore it, block it, whatever you want to do. However, if it's not a really offensive comment, maybe it's a type of troll comment that you don't just understand what they're trying to say. In my experience, the best thing to do is actually reply to that comment. However, don't feed the trolls, as they say. Don't do a troll type comment back. My advice would be to do a comment back, just ask, say, well, what exactly do you mean by that? Usually they don't answer. However, on occasions I've turned a troll commenter around into a loyal, faithful subscriber, ultimately having a chat with them. In some cases it's been that his comment is a misunderstanding. Potentially he speaks a different language, or she speaks a different language to what I speak, and that can be a misunderstanding. So, not in all cases, obviously. Sometimes you just get a goddamn troll comment. Delete, block, whatever. But yeah, watch out, because sometimes it can just be a misunderstanding rather than a troll comment. So I would say it's worth responding to a comment like that. So I know I haven't necessarily answered your bullying question. It is a very serious topic, and I don't know that I want to go too much in depth with that here on the channel, but hopefully what I've just said will help someone who is doing YouTube videos and maybe experiencing that. Okay, so next question is from Callum Biggle, and he says, "Thanks for answering my question, dude." No problem at all, I appreciate your question. He says, so a new question: as Space Marines have so many different factions, and now even NIDs have Gene Stealer cults and so on, do you think it's about time we saw a new Necron splinter faction with different weapons, different armour and different goals and philosophies? Maybe a renegade Necron faction who've regained their memories, for instance. A great question, thank you for that. So, as you know, I'm very old school. I'm only just getting my head around Tesla guns for Necrons. I grew up with Gauss guns for Necrons, that's it, we just have Gauss guns. I like it that way. As I said, I'm old school. I'm quite happy to have just robots with Gauss guns just pushing forward a big Necron phalanx. I don't need all the bells and whistles to enjoy Necrons. So I don't need another splinter faction. Would it be cool? I suppose it would, but honestly I don't think GW would give Necrons that much love. I don't think they're high on their priority as an army faction, unfortunately. But who knows the future? Okay, so that is all of the questions answered. Please, if you want to ask me a question, pop them down in the comments box below. I really would appreciate it. And if you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing. Hit my icon at the end of the video so you can keep up to date with the wonders of Warhammer 40k. Beam me up!